Welcome to the 40K Shop Talk podcast, broadcasting live from the Manufactorum.
I'm your host, Austin, joined by my co-host, Rob. Join us as we talk shop about new codexes, units, army lists, and general strategies. If it's 40K related, you'll hear it here. All right, welcome, 40K Shop Talk. How you doing tonight, Rob?
Oh, I'm doing good,
Good. Thanks everybody for joining us. So I wanted to follow up last week's episode on our Admech talk with a list, taking a deep dive into some of the pieces of it there. The book is huge. We went over, if you didn't catch it last week, check out part 1 of our Admech review. We go through the book and all kinds of, all the basic stuff. We pulled out a couple key units and key strategies and combos, but there's too much to look at first glance. So I wanted to take a deeper dive, and I put together a little bit of a list that I thought maybe there was some neat stuff we can poke at. So we can get into that tonight.
Before we talk about that, though, there's some other news that's kind of come out over this past week. I was talking about FAQs, talking about new mission secondaries and things like that.
So I didn't get a chance to do a review yet of the full chapter approved stuff, but
Do you look at the FAQ stuff? Because I'll talk about the Drakari stuff. I was looking at that pretty heavily.
Okay, let's start with Drakari. I did, in fact, check out the FAQs. So let's start with Drakari, and let's comb through a few of these quick.
All right, so everybody talks about Drakari right now. Everybody's been complaining about their win rates and all the other stuff and how broken they are. So good to know there have been some changes. I think at first there was some salt after some of the pre-release stuff with the chapter approved and how there weren't too many changes in there to address some things, but then the FAQs dropped, and then there was much rejoicing from the Warhammer world, in my opinion. So let me go ahead and pop this open.
Sure.
So some of the bigger change, we saw some slight point adjustments going on for Drakari. For Drazar, Master of Pain went up to 45 points. So I think he was 125 or 135, so like a 10-point increase.
Okay.
Raiders went up 10 points from 85 to 95. I think that's also a pretty good change. Nothing to complain. I wouldn't be surprised to see that go up a little bit more, but I don't think anything there is game breaking personally. So two of the big changes are Dark Technomancers no longer work with liquefier guns, so no longer can people get the bonuses to their damage from flamers, which auto hit.
Yeah.
So again, I think that's another great change. Personally, I was not a fan of the Dark Technomancer flamer unit, mainly because trying to buy multiple kits of racks to get all those flamers, I think, is kind of dumb. Anytime, look, my opinion is if you have to go out of your way to make a unit and then spam it to the point where you're buying like bits offline or custom converting them, then you're pretty well assured it's going to be nerfed because it's not intended,
That's a fair,
So that's fine. I think the next thing that you're going to probably see with Drakari nerf is like the Slith stuff with the Urguls and the Slith and taking like 3 units of them and basically making your dude on your Archon unkillable because all the bodyguard units, and then when wounds do get through, you get the 2+ Shadow Field, and then they have the whatever 4+ save with the ignore pain stuff. So I don't know. I think you're going to see that probably get it next because that's kind of what everybody is always talking about. I don't like that playstyle. The reason that you take the bodyguard unit, the whole idea is that you take like a couple. So to take that and make it a spam unit, you're not playing Codex Archon Coven, right? You're playing Codex Drakari. So I don't know. That's just my 2 cents. Take it or leave it, love it or hate it. Raiding forces, so they changed the CP thing. So no longer can you take the raiding force and then get the bonus CP. So I think that's another good change. It's kind of weird that you're like, oh, if I take this special Drakari thing, I just get an extra 2 CP on top of the 12 I normally get. That's kind of strange. And then finally, inside of the, see how prepared I am here. Inside the, where'd it go?
Are you talking about the rare rules stuff? Or are you
I'm
still talking about
talking.
the
Well,
Drukari?
I don't know. I'll just say it. So
Sure.
I don't have it pulled up here, but inside of the Cult of Strife changes, they clarify how the razor flails work with the relic. So it doesn't just keep exploding
Oh, okay.
more
Yeah, we had
attacks. Like
talked about that.
yeah, we did talk about that, and I said very specifically, I said, look, this is not intended. There's no way they're going to let this fly. But even if you go back and listen to it in episode, I think it's
Yep,
1,
it is.
even so the way it works is the way I thought it would work, right?
Yep,
You
you
get
were
your
right.
12 attacks or whatever it is, you make them, and for every one of those that fail, you basically get to make those ones again. You don't get anything on top of it. They don't double up every time you make a new one. It's
Yep.
just the 12 attacks you have. You get to roll to hit and to wound, and if they fail, you get to go through it again. Um, I still think that's a great build. I still love it. It's not as like completely broken as people had been playing it, but you know what? I never played it that way because I didn't think that was the way it would play. So, great change. I think they covered a lot of bases, and I'm pretty happy with everything that I saw.
Yeah, cool. I think that's fair.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
I
I'm
think
glad
yeah.
they're nerfs for sure, but I'm glad to see them. Right? I play the army, and I like to see that kind of stuff because even I can look at that and be like, that's kind of I don't know,
Yeah.
like.
I think you said it before when you're spamming stuff and it feels too good to be true, it
Mhm.
is.
Yeah. The other
Um,
army I play is Death Guard, so they had a little blurb in here about the Herald of Nurgle stuff for Typhus. I don't really like Typhus, so I didn't really care too much, but
fair enough.
there's just some clarifications. Again, they still haven't answered my one Death Guard question with the Twin Flamer stuff that
The one
you
you
and I've talked
submitted,
about.
yeah.
So, like, I don't know, whatever. I'm going to keep playing it that way until they actually come back and say so. But
Yeah,
I
okay.
can't believe they haven't addressed that. So maybe I'm the only person that plays Death Guard that wants an answer to it.
I guess. Um, okay, cool. A lot of these on the site, I'm not sure exactly which armies got updates because a lot of the
Pretty much all of them got at least something.
okay. Now points aside, right? We're talking about points aside, just like new errata and uh,
Um,
so
yeah, so there's a Warhammer Core main update. There was the Psychic Awakening Pariah, Faith and Fury, Waking Blood of the Ball. Most of these, I think, are just changes, updates for the factions that have been released. There's a Codex Space Marines, Harlequin. Ooh, there's a Harlequin one. I'm curious.
I don't see the updates for those. I'm not sure
You don't
what
see those 0206 updated?
okay. Never mind. I think I do now. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so there's this one's very small. The Harlequins, yeah, I play them. It's just for their CP regen one.
Hmm.
We all know that you're not supposed to be able to gain CP back in any obscure way. So, um, if you find yourself refunding CP multiple times in a turn, you can't. It just clarifies that. Um, that's fine. That one was not major. The Custodes one I was looking at before. The only thing that's highlighted are the storm shields, but that had been in there for forever, so I don't know why they marked it as actually uh, being updated. It's still 1.1, so not really sure what that was about. But yeah, so that's all I play. So the core rulebook is really next. I don't think anything in here was too important other than the fight first stuff. So the whole fight first, fight last stuff, um, that was sort of a gray area. But they even put out a designer commentary, I believe. But I think the point is, if you have a fight first and someone has a fight last, um, there's like three types of fighting. There's like a fight first, a fight normal, and a fight last, and they just cancel each other out. So um,
So
pretty
what's the
straightforward.
difference? Does it cover like I know a lot of the wording they use now is can't fight until all other units have activated.
Yes, so they basically clarify that stuff and they say if it says like you go at the end, then you get the technical like momentary transient keyword of fight last.
Okay, so it
So
just
you
counts as fight
basically
last.
yeah, you basically bestow fight last upon them. So if they already have a keyword that says fight first or an ability talking about it, you then have fight first plus fight last and you mash them together and get fight normal.
Speaking of the main rulebook, this is where the razor flails is covered. Attacks that make
Okay.
multiple hit rolls. There's a commentary here.
Okay. Cool. Um,
So
yeah, I don't
any
think.
attack that
Okay.
generates additional attacks never generate additional attacks.
Yeah, fair
Is
enough.
basically the rule of thumb.
Seems pretty straightforward. There was something else in here about remaining stationary. I think this stuff is pretty self-explanatory, but I know a lot of people were trying to like game very minute pieces here. But like, and people are even trying to interpret this as it's not supposed to be. Like, here's something. So like, if you're stuck in combat and you pile in or something, like if it says you don't suffer the penalties for moving and you count as remaining stationary, then you count as remaining stationary, like no matter what kind of small tiny moves you've made, except for when you're arriving via reinforcements or relocation, which is a big deal. You count as moved. So
Hmm.
I don't know how many people were trying to game that anymore. I think we're to a point with the rules, they're pretty solid. And like if you feel like you're doing some shady stuff, you probably are, and it's probably FAQ'd somewhere. The hard part is just finding it, I guess.
I feel like there was something else was covered in here too, wasn't it? I don't know for a fact. I was just having a conversation with somebody. You know
Hmm.
that weird. I think you were the one that was talking to me about this with like the Land Raider, where it deploys outside of 9, but when shooting, it's within like 8.89 inches or something because of the way the treads are or something. You know what I'm talking about?
Hmm.
Was
I
that you
know
that
there
was
was
talking to me
some.
about that? I know that was like some
Uh,
big thing that everybody was freaking out about. To me, I don't. I guess I
oh,
don't
yeah. You know
because
what? It had to do with models without bases, or else models that you modify or measure from the hull, like a wave serpent. People were saying like you could deploy the wave serpent slightly off the ground
I
and
don't
then
know.
like measure from the hull and get an extra inch.
I, I
I don't know.
I know people always say like the Land Raider because like the Land Raider has that little like triangle coming up. You know what I'm talking about from the tread.
Yeah.
So like when you deploy it, you can deploy it so that it's like 9 inches away from like I don't know. I don't know. There's some
Sounds
weird
shady,
thing.
so
There's some
whatever.
shady thing. You know what? This is all these little things remind me of like when people deploy sideways and then like free pivot and then
Oh yeah,
move.
I
You know
remember
what I
that with.
mean?
Yep, yep.
Yeah, yeah. Like, and people would be like, "Well, the pivot's free." It's like, well, you can't ever move more than your model's allowed to move, though. So it's not
Yeah,
free, actually. Whatever.
yeah.
Basically, my rule of thumb is if you feel like you're cheating, you probably are.
You probably are. There was one more change that I think I'm pretty sure this was a change. But difficult ground.
Hmm.
Titanic units ignore that now. I don't believe that was the case before.
Oh boy, I don't think that's ever came up, but that makes sense. I could imagine moving a knight through a crater and it not carrying.
Yeah. So
Interesting. Yes.
all right. Cool. So I think that does it for FAQs. I'm not going to go into the point stuff. I have no idea what changed points wise that was significant or not.
Yeah. I don't think too
Um,
much. I mean, I see there's the power
yeah.
rating thing, but um,
Yeah.
I don't know. Again,
All right.
I don't think there are massive changes, and I don't know if that's because they didn't have like big tournament results or anything to really go off of over the last 6 months or not. But um,
Yeah.
not in my opinion, not much has changed. The things that have changed, I think, are for the better. They really cleared up some stuff that may or may not have been being abused by people. So
Yeah. Fair enough. Okay, cool. So we'll put a pin in that. Let's see. The next thing would be I heard some murmurings today about the new Sisters Codex, which this stuff is coming out so fast that I didn't even realize it's either out or else people are starting to preview it.
I think it's pre-order yesterday, and so
Yeah.
that means that all of the reviews came out yesterday as well as the gag order was lifted. And it's not a gag order,
Man,
but
I am one salty dog.
one salty dog. Yeah, you know what? You sent me a message about this yesterday or this morning,
Yep.
and it was
Dude.
very cryptic to me because I'm just like. I read it. I think you said mentioned something that a single sister is stronger than a custodian guardsman, and I was
Yep.
like, "Do tell me more."
Okay. So do you remember before when we were looking at the Warhammer previews and we saw like the the head honcho lady inside like the
Uh
Mega
huh.
Dread Knight?
Yep.
So apparently I didn't know, but she's apparently a High Lord of Terra, which also makes me rage at the lore level, because what the hell is
Right.
she doing on the battlefield in a walker?
Right. Sure.
So okay, that makes me angry. But that aside,
Is it
the
why do you get this upset about Gilliman being on the battlefield or Trajan?
this is different. Okay, this is different because okay, no, a High Lord of Terra is like an aristocrat
Malcador.
that,
It's like Malcador, the
yeah,
sigillite.
like they just
He's a
stay
High
there
Lord of
and
Terra.
do stuff. They're a figurehead. Like they're not okay. Maybe
Sure.
Gilliman's different. I don't know. It just
Is
made
he
me
is
mad.
he a High Lord of Terra?
No,
Honestly,
he's
I
not.
have to
He's
get
like
caught up.
just the High Lord.
But
He's
Trajan is, isn't he, or no?
no,
No. Okay.
no.
Malcador the sigillite is though, right?
I guess, yeah, but he
Here,
doesn't leave Terra. You don't see him on the
let me look this
battlefield.
up.
This is stupid. No, but the point is, I think I'm really just mad because of how good she is.
Uh huh.
This model is like, of course, so it's of course it's basically on par with Gilliman, which makes me really really
That's
angry.
a little silly.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. So her sword, her lance, is basically like close to Gilliman's sword. She has a billion attacks. Okay, that's fine. But the thing that sucks is, of course, she's 2 up, 4 up, right? But she halves all damage, which is ridiculous. That's just built in. And then she has like a bunch of missile launchers and 3 damage heavy bolters and all kinds of crazy stuff. But she's less than 10 wounds. I think she's 9 wounds or 8 wounds. She's insanely powerful. Okay, that's fine. That's your new centerpiece. It's like 200 and some points. Okay, like should probably be 300 points. Anyway, the thing that really makes me mad is these aggressor smaller suit chicks.
The small suits,
Okay,
the regular
so
suits.
these
Okay.
things, these are better than a custodian guard. This makes me want to rage.
Okay.
It's just a T3 model in an exoskeleton.
Sure.
What is going on here? It's and they're dirt cheap. They're dirt cheap. And they're going to be flanked and backed up by these. Okay, first of all, so they're shooting like mastercrafted heavy bolters. Okay, well that's a better strength in AP than a custodian's bolt staff. Okay, that pisses me off. I think they're T5. I think they're like multiple wounds, like 3 or maybe more, which is ridiculous. They move faster than a Terminator. The whole thing is preposterous. It's absolutely
Hmm.
just ridiculous. Then on top of that, you have the shield guard, which are again just a sister with a shield. Okay, it should not be a gigantic storm shield. Like if a custodian guard or a 3 wound, 4 wound, whatever they are, multi Primaris veteran, a guy who's gone through the Rubicon 4 times, carries a storm shield. That's what these ladies have. So now they have storm. So there's your storm shield guard. Pretty sure they have multiple wounds. It's absolutely ridiculous. And they're 17 points a model. It's like, why would you not just take? And then you have faith dice, and then you're modifying that on top of that. It's ridiculous. You're ignoring AP 1 and 2. You're getting -1 damage. They have a built-in -1 damage. Why doesn't every custodian have a built-in -1 damage?
They might though. You don't
This is
know.
ridiculous.
They haven't got their
There's
new book.
this dude. No,
It
it's
could.
so sad. It's
It
so
could.
sad. They're like 40 some points, 40 or 50 some points a
Oh,
model.
really? 40 points a model?
I think they're 47 points a
Is that
model.
before their power weapon and melt-a-gun and missile racks?
No, I'm talking about a custodian guard. These
Oh,
chicks are like 17.
no, they gotta be more than that.
The shield girls.
Oh, the
The
shield ones?
aggressor suit ladies.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
the
think they're
aggressors.
20 something. It's like a Terminator. It's basically
Oh,
their
really?
version of a Terminator.
I wish Terminators were that good. Okay,
Yeah.
so
Yeah. Oh, that's a thing.
so
Yeah, exactly.
maybe
So
maybe a little
stupid.
overboard with the sisters.
It's ridiculous, man. It's absolutely ridiculous. Not to mention
Yeah.
all the characters. Like, okay, so here's another thing. So I played Sisters for a while, and I understand the Bloody Rose, like Melee, Repentia. That was awesome. I have all the love in the world for that. Well, of course, that got kicked to the side because why would you take the Repentia now, which are like basically just defenseless, when you can bring the 4 up -1 damage Storm Shield Sisters with Mauls that are the same offensive output, and they can get all of the
Yeah.
benefits of every other girl, and they have a 3 up armor instead of a 7 up armor.
That is it is
What's going
very
on?
it is very strange that they gave the storm shield a -1 damage.
And on top of that, the power swords are different now, right? They're +1 strength. So you have the Zephyrim, which fly down with crappy wet noodle swords that are strength 3 that are now actually strength 4 before you give +1 strength and +1 to wound. So now they're going to mulch anything in the game. Where was this stuff 2 years ago? Ugh, it's ridiculous.
It
And
was
and on top of that, the
in the
unkillable
Imperial
canoness,
Armory.
dude. No, it was not in the Imperial Armory.
It
Okay,
was
no,
the
no,
sisters.
it was
They're
not.
holy relics of Terra that can't be used at any battle. It must be saved for
No,
the
this is
dire
look.
needs of
I'm
the
not even just talking
sisters.
about in relation to a custodian here. We looked at Grey Knights the
Right,
other day.
right.
The most
Well,
elite of the elite. They're so elite you don't even know about them.
they're so elite they don't even get a new codex, but
They
they
are
will get one
ten,
soon.
they are 100 times worse than a T3 sister. A human, not augmented sister of battle is better
Yep,
than a
yep.
Grey Knight Strike Marine. At this point, better than a Grey Knight Terminator.
Well,
This is so sad. So there's a character, right? You can build this canoness in the new book where you get this mantle of a failure or whatever. And I love how before that relic was garbage. It was like this gets a 5 up, feel no pain. Now you reduce all damage to 1. So now she
wow.
tanks a knight. Now she tanks a 6 damage Gilliman sword.
Oof.
Get this shit out of here.
Is that before damage? So like if you get hit with the
All no,
last,
all dam like if you are
so you get hit with
wounded,
the last cannon and it rolls a 6, then it's just like you take 1 damage. Do you have any way to shrug that then? So like if you
yeah, you
shrug
do
that one
actually. Yeah,
damage,
it's
then
funny
it's just
that you
all
mentioned
gone.
that. Exactly. It's funny that you
Oof.
mentioned that because there are
Oof.
AoE buffs of feel no pain. So yes,
There's a
absolutely. As soon as you're wounded, the profile of the thing that hit you becomes a 1.
yeah, there's a
So
character
stupid.
in Age of Sigmar that does that.
Oh my god.
He
Well,
is
that's
the
where it came from. Thank
he
you,
is
Sigmar.
he is the living embodiment. Well, no, he's the avatar of Grimnir Gotrek,
Well, that sounds
a,
about right.
a very well known dwarf in the Warhammer world. But this is just a canonist no name character, which is kind of sad.
Yeah. Anyway, that's
Yeah.
it. I don't
Okay.
know how much
All
of that
right.
is true. Maybe all
Well,
that's wrong, but I'm
it
pretty
might be
sure all
wrong.
that's
I
true.
guess we'll find out next
Bunch of
week.
crap. Yeah.
Yeah,
Look,
it's
if Grey Knights
interesting.
don't get a 2 wound strike marine, there's a
Well,
problem here.
so I guess here's my concern. I don't play sisters, but I've always felt that the reason that sisters were strong is because of they were in power armor, which right, sure, no problem with that. They had a good ballistic skill because they train and they're diligent, but they were still strength 3, toughness 3, which was kind of their big downfall. So they were a good faction because they had all the stats that mattered for a shooting army, and Warhammer fairly is a shooting game, but then lacked any of the other things, which made them a point price premium because you're paying points for all the things that you care about, and
Yeah.
you're getting discounts on stuff that you don't care about,
Yeah.
which is why sisters were good. And then on top of that, you go, okay, and now we have Saint Celestine who can kind of back us up in combat if we need to. She's a beast. And then throw in all the prayers and stuff, which then
Mm-hmm.
really start to put the army into overdrive. So now, if you're telling
Yeah.
me, and again, grain of salt, because I actually haven't looked at any of this stuff yet, and I'll have to wait and see the codex when it comes out
Mm-hmm.
next week. But what I'm hearing is not only do they have all that stuff that make them a great faction, but now they just have all the best gear in the game too. So
Yeah,
that's
it's worse than what happened to Marines with Primaris. It's exactly
yeah,
like you used to have to rely on these like really not great for their PC motive Repentia and chained up human experiments in like penitent engines. Like if you
yeah,
wanted a T5 psychopathic berserker, like you put a human in a torture machine and send it forward. Like it's very clear that they don't like that anymore. So they're replacing those units with
with these
which had
things.
they had very big downsides. Those units had a negative to outweigh their huge positive, the Repentia and the penitent engines. And it's very clear that they just want to shit all over that and put out units that are Primaris sisters, which are your shield sisters and your aggressor sisters. It's
Right.
ridiculous. And your
Well,
dread knight sisters.
we'll see. I think you're just mad because you're going to have to buy sisters again. But
No, I'm not. That army took too long to paint. I got rid of it. And I do regret it. I regret selling that army. But
all
I
right.
don't because you know what? I
Yeah.
wouldn't want to represent what it's become. Done. I'm done. We're moving on.
Well, you know what though? I'm curious to see what they do moving forward because if this is
Yeah.
what they're giving sisters, I can't wait to see what they do for Grey Knights, and I can't wait to see what they do for. Man, could you imagine? Just put on our what if hats for a second.
Oh yeah.
Imagine if custodians they just have a generic rule that any damage inflicted is reduced to 1 damage for every custodian.
Oh,
Just imagine. Like
yes.
imagine if
Minus
they're
1 damage or reduced to 1. I'd take it.
yeah, imagine if they are exactly the same as they are right now, right?
Yep.
Nothing really changed.
Mm.
but just anytime they take a damage that had multiple damage assigned to it, it's just one.
All right, I'd take it. I'd shut up and take it. I'm good.
Yeah,
We
but
don't need
I mean,
anything
you know
else.
what? Honestly, that'd be pretty sweet for a custodian to be able to do that, because that's
Yeah.
kind of what you would expect, that they could hit it with a last cannon and they just kind of shrug it off a little bit.
You know, see, I like when they double down on an army's look and feel. What I don't like is when they start gap filling. Like that's
Yeah,
what makes me mad. It's like, oh well, I need a T5 troop, so now they just invented a T5 troop for sisters. Like, oh
yeah.
okay, they
I
just filled that
again,
gap. Like, I don't like
I'm
when they
grain
do that.
assaulting. I'm grain assaulting this a little bit because I got to see it in its full context
All
and I
right.
got to see the war scrolls and stuff. But I do agree with you 100%. This feels like they came up with models that would sell well, not
Yep.
models that are, because I think what I've been saying ever since this new edition came out is that I love all the new codexes because they did such a good job of going back to the roots of the army and really hamming up what this army is meant to do and meant to be, right?
Yeah.
I think they did a great job with Death Guard. I think they did a great job with Jakari. Blood Angels are sweet. Jesus, I hate Dark Angels, but even they did a good job
Oh
with them, I
man.
think.
Yep.
Um,
I agree.
like they really fleshed out like what the Raven Wing is and what the
The Deathwing.
the Death Wing is. Yeah,
It
like I
feels
think
unique.
yeah, it feels unique. It feels good. I like it. Even the
Yep.
regular Space Marines and Necrons, I think they did a great job of
Oh.
fleshing out Necrons.
Yep.
And then to see them go with sisters, and it almost feels like they do a 180 where instead of relying on their faith,
Yeah.
they now just rely on superior war gear. So
Yes,
that's
and they
weird.
just gap
That's
filled all their downsides. It's so
so yeah.
stupid.
Again, I'll have to wait, and maybe we can talk about this more next week or once we get the codex in
Yeah.
hand.
Okay.
But I do see this. This is potentially a disappointment from the terms of the direction they've been going with all the codexes recently. This
Yeah.
might just be a straight up money grab power creep that does not feel like sisters at all. But to all the sisters player, hey, congratulations! It sounds like you
Yeah.
got some great units coming.
You wanted aggressors, you got them. Oh, and actually, they're better in combat than Grey Knights and Custodes. You got that too. You
Right.
wanted a
So.
Dreadnought? Okay, I'm done. I gotta stop. I gotta stop. All right. Well, I hope I'm wrong. I hope everything I've seen and heard is wrong.
Yep.
All
Well,
right.
maybe it is.
Maybe
We'll
it is.
we'll find out soon enough.
Okay. Cool.
Let's
On a
see.
final note,
Anything? Oh yeah.
you saw my finished Incarn, right? I finished my Incarn
Oh boy,
conversion.
I did.
So I am super happy with how it came out. My Blanchitsu Harlequins, my homage to the great John Blanche. Yeah, I redid the Incarn. I'll try to find a way to get pictures of that up on my
I mean,
website
you should, yeah,
soon.
you should throw it up
Uh,
on your website, and then once you
yeah,
do, maybe post a note or something and let people know,
yeah,
or we can shout it out next week, and people can go take a
yeah,
look and leave comments or whatever.
yeah. Cool. So I've
So,
been digging into the Harlequin book a little more, trying to finish out my list. It's a really cool book, but yeah, interesting. I'd love to see them get a couple units. Maybe they'll get some aggressors. Um,
so I don't want to sidetrack too much, but I got the Lords of Terra pulled up here.
all right, all right. Let's
So
go.
so we got the Master of the Adeptus Administratum,
What in the hell? Okay,
the Representative of the Inquisition,
okay, that's
the
fair.
Excelsiarch of the Adeptus Ministorum. Is that this?
Okay,
Is this
so
her? Is
that
this
sounds
her?
like the church.
Yeah, that is. Well, the Adeptus Ministratum is usually like the priesthood, though.
Okay, you're right. Yeah, that's the old school priest. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Okay,
like I
continue.
used to be able to take the priest with the sisters, and he was
Yeah.
part of the Ministratum.
Okay.
The Fabricator General of the Adeptus Mechanicus,
Sure.
the Grand Provost Marshal of the Adeptus Arbites. That's the police forces.
Okay. Right. That's Taro's force.
So that's like the police chief.
Okay.
Uh, the the Paternoval Envoy of the Navigators. I don't
Sure.
know. That must be
Ships.
like some fleet master. The master
Okay.
of the Astronomicon, which would be like their psychic network
Comms
for
guy.
teleporting ships,
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
warp drive.
Okay.
The Grand Master of the Officio Assassinorum, or
Fair enough.
so the leader of the assassins. The Master of the Adeptus Astartes Telepathica. So that must be their head of communications.
Wait. Adeptus Astars. Okay, like the
Astartes
librarian guy.
Telepathica.
Oh, telepathica.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm assuming this is like
Hmm.
their you know communications director.
Sure. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, so that's 9, but there's always apparently 12. So the other 3 are filled in by the Lord Commander of the Segmentum Solara, the
Okay, so I
Lord
take that.
Commander Militant of the Astra Militarum. These ones
That's fair.
change, by the way, is what I'm getting at. The
Oh,
Lord High Admiral of the Imperial Navy,
okay.
Cardinals of the Holy Snod of Terror. I don't know what snod
Yeah.
means. Abbess Sanctorum of the Adeptus Sororitas. Abbess Sanctorum. That
So I
must
guess
be
that's
her.
her. I don't know. I heard that she had High Lord of Terra in her name, in her fluff, in her name, all over. So I was
You know
skeptical.
what? When you go to that, the page does not exist. So this they must be rewriting some stuff here. Anyway,
Fair
Captain
enough.
General of the Adeptus Custodes,
Yep.
Chancellor of the Estate Imperium, and then Speaker of the Chartist Captains.
Hmm.
Apparently, these are Imperium merchants.
Ooh, the old
There's a
rogue
whole little
traders,
thing
maybe.
here.
All right.
So
Well,
that
I know
being said,
absolutely nothing. So,
Gilliman is the one that created this council,
okay.
supposedly.
So he's the big
So
daddy, as he should be.
he's yeah.
All
So he
right.
is not a High Lord of Terror. He is,
He's just
and I
the
assume
freaking lord.
I used to be really into the lore. I don't kind of know what's happened lately, but you know, Malcador was a big part of this. I don't even think is he's probably dead. I'm assuming he's dead by
No,
now.
dude, I'm pretty sure Malcador runs the show. I'm pretty sure I read a book where he was talking to Gilliman
Still runs
about
the
some
show
stuff.
because gosh,
I don't know,
he must
dude.
be super old because he was around for Horse Heresy stuff. He's the one that
Yeah.
started the Grey Knights with what's his name, Garrow.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't
Yep.
know.
Okay. Well, if he's still around, I would assume that he's kind of the guy behind the scenes running everything. I would
Yeah.
assume, and then
Maybe he's
Gilliman.
the Astartes guy they mentioned. There's something
No,
Astartes
because
communication
he wouldn't be Astartes. He would be well, I guess maybe he's the
or
Inquisition guy.
telepathica.
No, because he's the Inquisition. He's the
Oh
like
yeah,
all the Grey
Malcolm.
Knights
Yeah,
have
yeah,
the eye
yeah.
that's the mark of the sigillite on them.
Yeah, true. I don't know. Okay, well, today you've absolutely learned nothing, everyone.
Yep.
We don't actually know anything.
We don't know anything,
It's
and we
okay.
appreciate everybody tuning in and leave a like, a subscribe, a comment.
Don't tell us about all the lore we got
No, no,
wrong.
tell us about all the lore.
Oh,
I
okay,
like to
fair enough.
learn. Yeah,
Please
yeah.
tell us.
Tell us how we're getting it wrong, because
Yeah.
um, you know, I love lore, but I am not as up to par on it as most,
Yeah, that's
and I'll be
fair.
the first to admit it.
That's fair.
I know enough to get it all wrong. How's that?
That's okay. Most of the Imperium's in that boat, right?
Right, right. I mean, I feel right at home. Okay, so
All right.
all that aside,
Yeah,
let's
man.
talk about this list that you made.
Dude, okay, so I would play guitar. I would play Admech, but all my stuff is made from Admech bits already.
Gosh, I'll send you all my Admech. I want to get rid of
so,
them.
no, so it would look too similar to the other stuff, but maybe that's actually a good thing because it would jive so well with the style of all my
It
other
would.
stuff. But man, this book, I don't even know how many hours I spent on this book, but I do have a list. Um, I want to go through it and you just pick it apart. It's not Ryza, sorry.
It's fine.
So I know Ryza, I think we said last week, is probably one of the strongest. We saw some really good melee combos and we saw some really good plasma shooting. And I mean, if you can answer both those questions, the only thing missing is movement. And I think they have enough tricks in general. So, fair warning, I do think Ryza is probably very strong. I also know last week we were talking about the robots, and I was saying how I didn't see any way to make them core. Well, I found it, and that's the data smith. So the little duder that comes in the box when you buy two robots, he has rules, and he did before, and he like changed a bunch of protocols or whatever. It doesn't really matter because you could also do it with strats. But this time he's an elite, and he basically just makes the robots core. So I'm not really sure what the murmurings were all about before. The robots are still the best thing, hands down. They're actually even better than they were before because they can just turn on core like that. So
Yeah, that
all the
makes me
stuff I
sad.
said before, I guess throw it out the window. In fact, their heavy phosphor blaster on their head is now just 2 damage. Oh,
Yeah, I think it's funny because we finished recording that last episode, and then like 20 minutes later, you're like, "Oh, I'm dumb. They're core. This guy
I
makes
found it.
it."
Yeah. So the only
So
thing,
yeah,
so I don't know. Maybe
it's
maybe
sad.
the
It's the whole thing is sad though because like I hate big dumb robots, so I was ready to see
Yeah.
other things in that army get to shine a little bit, but I don't know.
Yeah, I think they're probably better than they ever were, which is so sad. I hate fighting them. All right. Well, it's funny because our conversation was more interesting knowing that they were off the table last week.
Right.
So I didn't include them, shocker. Um, anyway, there is a formation for Cult Mechanist stuff that focuses around the robots in the Book of Rust, which I won't talk about again. So they're just even better, probably, than ever before. But let's hope a lot of people don't realize their core and we actually see different things on the field because this book offers a lot for other units. All right, 30 minutes in, I'm ready to go. Ready?
Let's do it.
All right. So this list is the Forge World is Agrippina. I believe that's how you pronounce it. Agrippina. I don't know. I'm going to call it Agrippina. And they are the staunch defenders. So they're very knightly, whatever. Okay, so here's their base stats for their dogma. Each time a model makes a ranged attack that targets a unit within half range, improve the AP by 1. Okay, I think that's really good. We saw it be really good as it was the only Necron trait that people used to take in their previous book. So I think it's proved itself. It's a valuable trait. A lot of stuff in this book has an absurdly long range. So that extra AP1, I always think of that as like some sort of basic ignore cover in a sense. A lot of stuff will have an AP save from cover. But even better than that, if you start to apply ignore cover rules on top of it, it becomes literally stop taking saves. So I think that's a big one. We'll keep that in mind as we look at some strats later. And what I think is probably even better, especially for the way that this list is built, is their second part of that trait. Because remember, they all have 2 now. Is each time an enemy unit declares a charge against a unit that's in engagement range, so somebody who's in combat. So you charge me, I'm in combat. I can hold steady or set to defend. Now, this is really interesting
That's no matter where
because,
you are. Like if you're just even out in the open, you can always do it.
yes, you just
Okay,
always can do it.
that's
You
good.
can always choose to. So, yes, that means I can choose to overwatch you, which means I'd have to pay the strat to overwatch you, but it means I can if I'm even with them. I'm in an inch of enemy units, and it also means I can hold steady. So if I'm already in melee and you charge me, I'm gonna hold steady and get a better melee save. Sounds pretty good. Or attack. What does hold steady do? Then I'm thinking of heavy cover. Heavy cover is a save. Hold steady is +1 to hit first round of combat, I think.
Right. I
So
believe
when
so.
I hit that unit that comes at me, boom, done. Sounds great. Especially if I can make you not fight first. So we'll come back to that as well because that is something that I want to try to do. So you charge me.
The other one is +1 to your Overwatch.
Yeah, I think so. Set to defend.
Set to
They
defend.
might be. I might be swapping them.
Well, I have it
Hold
right here.
steady sounds like an Overwatch thing, but the point is, I can Overwatch you at a +1, and I can fight you at a +1 if, particularly if I choose for you not to fight first. Let's say. So that's interesting. Um, I'll go on to the next part while you look that
Yeah.
up.
So hold steady is Overwatch on 5. Set to defend is add 1 to hit rolls for the next fight phase.
Okay,
But you
so
can't
for the
fight
next fight
Overwatch.
phase, so it doesn't matter what I'm fighting. So that's even better than I
No.
originally thought. I thought it was just against the thing charging me. So yeah, that's actually really really good. So we will come back to that. Okay, so then I'm going to go to their custom strat, which is a 1 CP strat. You can use it twice in a 2,000 point game, and that's pick a unit of Cataphren servitors and make them +1 toughness. That will make them T6. So this list revolves around 3 major units. So I'm going to skip all the way down to the Cataphrons real quick, and we're going to go through them just to make sure everybody's up to speed and we're on the same page here. These are the Cataphron Breachers. I don't know what was good before, and I don't know what's better now, but I do know that the destroyers look like they have more of the plasma, the heavy weaponry. The breachers are this odd amalgamation of close range firepower that's not real great, but they have a really good defense and they have a really good melee output. So this unit is 3 to 6, so we'll take 5 of them because I still think that going up to 6 is
Yeah, you don't want
dangerous
to
for
take the
blast
blast and
weapons.
coherency.
Yeah. Um, unless you're like a unit that has full control over reserves where you can make sure you get there first. But these guys aren't the best. So they're only a 6-inch move unit, but they have a 2+ armor save. on a T6 unit. That's
Pretty good.
insane to me.
Yep.
Now, I don't believe they used to be a 2-up armor. I think they were even a 4-up or a 3-up, but they have a 2-up armor now, which is great. They have 3 wounds apiece. They're going to be T6 now, both units. We're going to take 2 units of 5. And they're equipped with an arc claw and a heavy arc rifle. I'm going to swap out the claw for the hydraulic claw, which is strength times 2, so strength 10, no minus to hit, -2, 3 damage. I think that's pretty good.
That's solid. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's like
that's a
thunder
great.
hitters.
That's a great profile on a unit that wants to get charged.
Hmm.
I looked up these guys. I'm pretty sure they're on 60 millimeter bases, which are
So
gigantic.
big footprint.
Yep, these are big boys, and we're gonna have a unit of 5 of them. So
And what's their weapon skill?
yeah, so they hit on 4s,
Right,
but
but if
we'll
you
come
set
back
to
to that.
defend, you get the +1.
Going to hit on 3s, and we're going to
Okay.
modify that all the way down to 2s, most likely.
So it's going to be like twos and twos.
It's
How
going to
many
be like
attacks?
3 attacks each, but we're also going to mess with that later.
Okay. All right.
Yep.
I
So
like
these
it.
guys are starting to look again pretty nasty. Now they do. I am keeping one of their ranged weapons. So the options are the torsion cannon. So you can
Quick.
twerk your way there at
Do you have
strength 8.
any way to shrug wounds on top of the 2+ save?
We do. Yep. We're going to
Okay.
come to that too.
All right.
Yeah. We
I'm
have.
just so
Yep.
I'm picking it apart a little bit here. I'm
Yeah.
just trying to think. So like when you do finally get charged by like some of those big hitters in close combat, like the Sanguinary Guard or witches or even some sort of Death Guard thing. You don't care about Death Guard because -1 toughness keeps you at toughness
5.
6,
Yep.
5.
Yep.
Okay, so that's good. That's
Mm-hmm.
good. You have a lot of wounds, a good armor save, so you're not going to care too much about the witches. They're going to bounce off you a little bit. 3 wounds is good, and the other thing is going to be the Sanguinary Guard, which are they -2 with their
I
halberd
believe
things?
axes or whatever they have are -2, yeah,
Minus
because the sword
two.
is, yep. Or no, actually, you know what? I sort of think power axes are -1.
I don't know. I'd have to look.
Yeah, I don't
That
know.
would be the one unit that might be pretty scary on a charge.
True, yeah.
They might just cut these guys down. But T6 is no joke. So
So, okay, so we are at AP -2.
mhm.
Now, those I think have a 2-up save, so that'll put them on a 4-up. I don't think they have an invuln. There are ways to modify our AP here, but we also have a way we're going to look at later where I can make the thing charging me not fight first. So
Ooh,
that's
there
going to
you
be
go.
pretty important.
Yep, that is good.
So a 3 damage flat attack is going to be really scary.
Well, yeah, you're gonna wipe most things at twos and twos
Yeah.
if you need to. Yep.
Strength 10.
Okay. I
So,
I
okay,
like where
cool.
you're at.
Yep. Okay. So these guys, I do have points here somewhere. I don't have the new points, so I don't know. I highly doubt that this stuff changed dramatically. So
Probably not.
the list will be approximately 2,000 points. We'll, whatever. But 5 of these is approximately 175 points. So
Oh
that's a
dang.
little more than I was hoping for
Really?
15 wounds.
That sounds
But
pretty good.
10, 12 points a wound. Okay, I think that's all
They're
right.
slow. Do you have any way to deliver them? Anything?
No, I
Nope.
don't.
So you're just
So
gonna.
they're moving 6 inches. Yeah, they're moving 6 inches, and they're probably advancing. We'll get into that.
Is this something you're gonna try to maybe stick in the center of the board or stick on an objective somewhere and just say if you
Yep.
want it, come get it?
Yes. So
Got
I'm
it.
going to put them on objective somewhere, most likely. Now, they still do have a shooting weapon. So they do have either a heavy arc rifle or a torsion cannon. Now, I'm not sure which one I prefer, but I think I'm going to stick to my gut and take the heavy arc rifle. And the reason I'm doing that is because it's sort of like haywire against vehicles, and there's a lot of transports and a lot of things that come to take your objectives show up in a transport, and I think that that's important.
Hmm. What's the profile on both of these?
So the heavy arc rifle is a 2-shot heavy. They ignore heavy when they move, so don't worry about that. It's 2 shots, uh, 36 inches, strength 6, -2, 2 damage. However, against a vehicle, it's damage 3 and 4 plus always wounds.
Mm-hmm. Seems pretty good. So
So
it's
I
like
think that's good.
old
So if you're
haywire.
shooting a T5 or a T6 Eldar transport, that's fine. You're gonna wound on forwards anyway. But the 3 damage is pretty nice. 5-up save is what they'll probably get. 2 shots. I mean, 3 of these guys will probably weaken a transport. I don't think you'll get lucky enough to kill it, but I think with 5 you probably will. Um, and it's 36-inch range. Now, again, if they're within 18, which they're most likely going to be, our Agrippina trait makes them AP3, which I think is huge when you're talking about
Okay.
vehicles,
Okay.
because some of these vehicles are armor 4 up.
So here's the modif right. They're ballistic skill 4, so that's kind of garbage. 36 versus the 48. The heavy one shot, strength 8 -4 D3 +3. It's the little ass cannons that they're rocking.
It is, but remember, like, I think that these things really, okay, if you have 5 of those shots, right, you're going to hit with 3, you're going to wound with 3 ultimately in the end. Like, yes, that's a dead transport, but I do
Mhm.
think that we'll get into this later, but
You have one unit of these guys.
I have 2 units of 5.
Oh boy,
Yep.
might want to think maybe one a unit of each. I don't know.
Maybe.
I'm just
We'll
throwing it
come
out
back
there.
to
I
it.
don't know. I guess my point here is I've been using a lot of dark light weapons, dark lances, and entropy cannons, and they all have the D3 +3 profiles here, very
Yeah.
similar, -4, and boy, I love them.
Yeah,
So
I mean, I do agree. That is good. 48 inches is
I
good.
guess
There's
it
ways
depends
to make
on
them
what else is
longer.
in the army.
All right. Well, let's go through some of the other things, and then we will circle back and maybe we'll revise that. So I am pairing these guys each unit with a techno archaeologist. Now, this guy is he is cult mechanicus, even though he looks like a Scutari dude. He is called Mechanicus. It's I guess either a new kit or a take on the old Tech Priest. So the destroyers, or I'm sorry, the breachers are Mechanicus, and so is this guy. But anyway, his abilities basically say, and this is new. He's an HQ, but he's not going to take up a slot for us because we're going to include other people that let us bring him along. So we're going to have more than 3 HQs here in this army, but in a battalion, we're taking a battalion, but that's okay. It's allowed. We're allowed to move some things around. What's cool is yes, he heals people. All the HQs basically heal people. So yeah, hey,
Mhm.
if you only get 2 wounds on that breacher, maybe I'll pull him back up to 3. Right.
Yep.
So that's just a side effect. But the really cool thing here is he has an ability that lets me pick a unit of cataphrons. Uh, they gain the infantry, or they basically act as though they're infantry. So now I can do actions, and I can still shoot um, while I'm doing an action. So I think that that's really interesting because now I can go up the side of the board and do an action. I can go to the center of the board for scramblers or whatever it is. I can sit on an objective and raise a banner. I can do actions and actually still shoot, which I think is pretty cool.
I do like that Necrons have that ability with one of their things, and I think that's yes, I'm a big fan.
Yeah. So imagine too, if you get close with the transport and we end up getting in a scrap, and breachers are troops, but I probably won't win many objective secured battles because it's a unit of 5. But
Mhm.
anyway, let's say
Well, but no, I mean, let's be honest. There's a lot of armies that you might be contesting against their elites or their
yeah, true,
fast attack, and
fast,
in
yeah,
those scenarios that you do win, even if you just have one surviving. So let's not let's not make let's not forget how
yeah.
good that is.
Anyway, but you could imagine sitting there and uh, rather than engaging, charging me, you decide that you want to start your banner action, forcing me to engage. Well,
Hmm.
you don't think I can shoot, but all of a sudden this guy decides that I can shoot, and then oh, by the way, I'm going to start this banner action, cancel yours. So it's a big flip. I think there's play there. So
No,
I
I
have
like
two
it.
units of that.
I'm a big fan.
Yeah, cool. So those are my little combos. Now we're going to go real deep on one of those archaeologists. Now I don't like doing this when I take like a mirrored version of a unit and then I can only give one of them certain traits, but that's just the way the game is. You can hardly ever dish out duels of the same thing. But what we're going to do is we're going to upgrade one of them to the one of the holy orders. Let me find my notes here. So one of these guys is going to become a Logai, okay, and that's a 35-point increase, which I'm pretty sure is like almost the same price as the model, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. He's there to buff. Yeah. So remember, the holy orders have 3 buffs basically. They have an initial mode, and then you can
Right.
like perform an action as the character, which shifts you into a new mode next turn. Um, but for these guys, we're looking at the low guy, and the advanced part that I could switch into. affects servitors, and it takes away things cover when they shoot, which is cool. So if I can anticipate, which turn you'll come at me, boom, I can switch it, and now I can ignore your cover. And again, if you're coming at me, you're probably getting close. You're probably getting within half range. So now I'm shooting you at AP3 and ignoring cover. And there's other buffs, so that can so I can use that reactively. However, I can also target a Forge World core unit and ignore AP 1 and 2. Now, these guys aren't core, so that's fine, but the option is always there. So if there's a nearby squad of Rangers, which we're taking, I can always just quick point that way and be like, hey, those guys in cover, they have a 4 up, but they have a 3 up in cover, and now they're ignoring your AP 1 and 2 from your intercessors. Just basically takes a unit out of the game from shooting them. So I think that's kind of cool too. But more importantly, and I missed this in our initial review, there is a little piece under each of these holy orders that says, I'm going to read this one, and it's an ability, but it says once per battle, if this model's on the battlefield, when you use an Adeptus Mechanis strategic ploy stratagem, reduce the CP cost by 1. It doesn't call out making it 0, so you reduce it by 1. Now, if you go look at the stratagem categories for what are considered strategic ploy stratagems, they're all the good stuff. So they don't have to be near me. They don't have to be within combat range. I can pick a unit, like let's say the Taraxi, that we want to do the jump, shoot, jump thing with the flamers. Boom, 0 CP once per game. That's cool.
That is cool.
And each of these different holy orders targets a different version of those stratagems. This is a really neat rule that I think I missed last time.
Yeah.
So like Janitors works for battle tactic, and Artisans reduces it for war gear stratagems, all kinds of stuff, which is really, really awesome.
That's really, that's really
yeah.
neat.
So once per game, one of those, and we're going to go back to those strats because I'm using a bunch of Skitarii stuff, which is really cool. So he's going to go ahead and take that. So that's cool. And now one of our other Archaeo tech guys that we're taking with our breachers, he's going to take the relic, and the relic he's going to take is the household relic from our Forge World, and it's called the Eye of 11 Lexum. Basically says target a vehicle and reroll wounds.
Oh,
So
that's good. Yep.
Yep.
Like that.
Yep. So now, again, if that unit is sitting close to an objective, we're getting ready to do actions and take the objective and still shoot. Transports are coming at us. We're probably within 18. So now we're re-rolling all wounds. We auto wound on a 4 up at that, at worst against tough vehicles from our arc cannons. 10 shots. I'm probably going to switch into canicles to give me +1 to hit. Who knows, right? Mm-hmm. So I think those are cool 2 little units to build around. So that's where the list starts. All right. Now I want to go to. Do you have anything else to add for the breachers or any of that?
No, I
so
like
far?
that. I like all that. Sounds
cool.
Sounds pretty good. It sounds flexible.
Yeah, cool. I think it's unique. I haven't seen many people talk about that.
I was kind of reading through some of the other stuff. I guess maybe if there's anything to consider with the ability to get like the free command point kind of thing going on there, would it be worthwhile to double up on one of those guys by taking 2 different detachments?
That's an interesting point. I never thought about that. I have to go read the rules on the house stuff. I don't know if it says you can't take the same one, but I don't know if it's
it might be per detachment. I would check that because I know that's how all the other things. Well, I don't know.
If it is, then we would do it. If it's per army, then we wouldn't. But whatever. Good call out though. I will have to check that when we come back around. All right, so now I want to talk about the Iron Strider Ballistari. So these are the Dragoons, but instead of a lance, they have a double las cannon. Assault 2 las cannon. So it's 48 inches, strength 9, -3, D3 +3 damage. So
sounds good.
These things have always been there, and I've never fought them, but they are really good.
I think the D3 +3 makes them
good. Oh, you're right. It would have been D6 damage before, wouldn't it?
Which is probably too spiky for the expensive points.
So there's a couple things with these guys. So first of all, 48 inches. So if you're within 24, you're going to be AP4, which I really like. That's our dogma for our Forge World. Okay, 48 inches. we're probably going to stay at 48 inches. But again, there's a lot of transports. So if things are getting close, if they're within 24 inches of you, boom, you're going to be hitting them at AP4. I think that's important. These are assault. So they can move, they can advance, they can still shoot, they hit on threes. They benefit from the Doctrina Imperatives, which is the Skitarii version of our ever-changing cycle of rules. I'm not going to go back and read them all, but just know, like, for a turn, you could put them on ballistic skill +1, weapon skill -1. Sounds good to me. They're not going to be fighting anyway. So these guys can be moving. They there are ways to make them ignore their, like they can still advance and shoot on normal skill. There are ways
Mhm.
to do that. You got strats, you've got
Yep, I
warlord
think we
traits if
looked
you
at
want to
that last
shuffle.
week.
Yeah. So
Yep.
these guys are basically there's ways to make them auto advance 6 inches. So this unit, how I think about it, I'm taking a unit of 5. Okay,
Mhm, mhm.
5 of these guys in one unit. So that's 10 las cannon shots, 48 inches. Again, we're looking at that 24ish for AP4, and they're going to be basically moving 16 inches and firing at full effect, hitting on twos most likely.
Gosh,
I think these guys are cool.
I'm just thinking about how good those breachers would be with the same shots, basically.
All right, but we need something to take
Yep.
objectives, and this
No,
is
you're right. You're right.
this is the tough part of the book because a lot of people there's a lot of really good infiltrating stuff that I
A
just think,
lot of last cannon shots, though.
yeah,
It
but
is
I still think up close
okay.
I would rather have
The two shots.
the two-shot arc rifles against
You're probably
vehicles.
right. You're probably right. It's
Um,
gonna help. I did peek
yeah.
though real quick. Your priest can only be inducted once per army.
Okay, so it is
So,
per army.
yep.
Okay, well then we'll
Okay,
stay the
so
course.
we'll keep the breachers the way they are, and then so
All
now we
right.
got these guys. These are your heavy hitters with their lances,
Yeah.
um, and they're going to be running forward and shooting stuff. Are these going to be your forward objective takers?
Oh
What's
no,
your
these
plan?
guys stay back. These guys,
Oh, really? So they're just going to run around like little chicken squawkers shooting stuff from the backfield.
yep, you're gonna have 10 shots basically every turn, hitting on probably twos. They can hit anything on the field, but the real key is like the relocation, and this is something that the Helverins actually used to be really good at way back when those were a thing, maybe even pre ninth edition. It used to use a maniple of 2 to 3 Helverins, and their movement was so insanely fast that you stack that on top of a long range gun, you can basically, pull some Eldar shit where you move from like midfield all the way to the left. You're not expecting to be able to hide after a 16-inch move with a 48-inch shot. So I think there's a lot of play there. And again, the Doctrina Imperatives, there's a lot of like wacky stuff you can do. They are core and they are Skitarii. So you could even imagine turn one, if your low guy that's going to move with your breachers is somewhere near them, somebody tries to fire at them with a bunch of autocannons or heavy gatlings, ignore AP1-2. Boom, done.
Right. Yep.
Really cool stuff. So that guy can even bleed. So most of this list is Skitarii now, here on out. So
Yep.
I
Okay.
think that's cool.
I
Um,
agree. I think it sounds good. What's next?
yeah, those guys are a little bit expensive. I don't know where they ended point wise after chapter approved, but that big blob is a 300 point blob. So 5 of them,
I mean, it's a
whatever.
squad of last cannons.
Yeah,
Let's be
that's
honest.
fine. Okay, cool. So that's the basic stuff. So then we're gonna get into some of the weird units. So okay, so there is a warlord trait that allows um, a warlord to deep strike. Now, I'm going to take that warlord trait, and this is not going to be a popular decision. But the reason I'm taking it is because I'm taking 2 units of 10 rust stalkers.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's the infiltrators and then there's the rust stalkers. And I think you could probably go either way with this. So, we may switch it and just take the infiltrators, but I'm going to take the rust stalkers. So I'm going to do 2 units of rust stalkers, 2 units of 10, and maybe 3. I don't know. I'd have to play these guys to see how they survive. But anyway, so let's start with 2 units of rust stalkers. It's a 10-man unit. They're 2 wounds apiece. Strength 4, toughness 3, which sucks. 3 attacks and 4 attacks on the leader. The reason I like these guys though is they have these transonic blades, which is what I would choose to take. Um, I don't. I think a lot of people might say that's the wrong pick, but it gives you +1 strength. So I feel like you have to get to strength 5 in melee. You have to. So I'm gonna opt for the strength 5 versus some of the other benefits the other weapons give you. I don't know. Maybe it's the wrong choice, but I can't imagine trying to overload a unit and being less than strength 5.
Yeah, I'm gonna tend to agree because wounding on fours is difficult.
Yeah, especially because we're going to buff the shit out of these guys. So having to spend those buffs just to get to this point, I feel like is like a double. It's just a double
Mhm.
gut punch. Okay. Anyway, so 3 attacks and 4 attacks. These guys are strength 5, AP 3, 1 damage. However, each time an attack with this weapon makes a wound roll of a 6, it inflicts 1 mortal wound in addition. So here we go. Get your bucket of dice. That's what we're going for. I think these guys, they only have a 4-up save. That's fine. We can mess with that. If they're in cover, they actually get +2 to their save, which is interesting. It's their camo cloak thing, which you don't see on a melee unit, which I think is kind of cool. And it does work in heavy cover. So if you could bring the fight to you at the right place, each time a range attack. Oh, I'm sorry. Each time a range attack is allocated, add 1 to the benefit from cover. Okay, never mind. So that aside, all right, cool. So these guys are on a 4-up save, whatever, but we're hoping to get the jump on someone with them. They take up a decent footprint, and they're not very expensive for what you get. They have an 8-inch move. Anyway, so we're going to take 2 units of these, maybe 3. I have to look at the points. 2 units of these guys, and they're going to run up the field. Turn 1, they're going to move. They're going to advance, auto advance. I think you might even be able to make them auto advance 6 because of their Skitarii strat. And then you're going to deep strike this HQ. So you're going to deep strike a Skitarii Marshal, and he is going to be equipped with the relic called the Omniscient Mask. And the Omniscient Mask is any Skitarii core unit. They are core, they're not troops, but they're core. Within 6, each time they make a melee attack, a hit roll of a 6 scores 1 additional hit. And a Skitarii Marshal rerolls 1s to wound always. That's like the lieutenant. So that's why I like the fishing for 6s to mortal wounds, because you're at least rerolling the 1s. So this guy's going to drop down, emits 20 of them on turn 2. Maybe you play it differently, whatever. Maybe it doesn't need to drop down. But I like taking the Deep Strike Warlord trait because it allows you to play that way, a
Mhm.
turn ahead. And he's going to give this 6-inch buff. So, okay, these guys are on 40 millimeters. So you hang one guy back from the squad that's 9 inches, he lands 9 inches away from the enemy. They're going to charge. They charge up. One guy hangs back from combat. He gets the blessings of the whole unit. Their bases are big enough that they can still be within a half an inch and still all
Right.
fight. So this is a tactic I used all the time for Harlequins, and they were on 25s, but you have to lose a guy to hang back.
Yeah, you just chain
So
it
this is
back and
valid. Yep,
yep.
this is valid. So he deep strikes, boom, and he does have a holy order that we're going to upgrade him to, and it's going to be the Genitors. And the Genitors basically allow once per game. The CP goes from 1 down by 1 on a strat from the battle tactic list. The battle tactic list benefits stuff like these guys. The stratagem that we're gonna make 0 CP essentially is called Assassin Constructs, and these units will get 1 extra attack.
Nice. Yep.
So, boom, built in. It's basically like you paid 25 points to give everybody around you +1 attack once per game, and it's only 1 CP, so you can do it again next turn.
Yep.
You can
Seems pretty good.
also add a bunch of other strats on top of them, which we don't need to go into, but very, very good. Now, there is another strat that will always stack on top, but it's when a Skitarii unit's picked to fight, add 1 to the strength characteristics of the models in that unit. So now our strength 5 going against toughness 5 infantry, that's heavy infantry, which there's a lot of, Death Guard, Custodes, Aggressors. Boom, now we're strength 6 base. Now we're
Yep.
talking.
If you
So
need
that's
it.
the reason I really like the swords, because I don't like spending 1 CP to get to that point
Well,
beforehand.
right, and then you have it built in such a way where if you are going against a T5 unit, you can buff up to 6. Don't have to.
Exactly. It's
So
optional, so I can
I
save
like
it.
it.
Yep.
I like it.
And the free strat, and look, they might only live for that turn anyway. So that
Yeah.
strat being free. Now also under Janitors, when he arrives, because remember you have to switch these in your command phase. So if this guy's deep striking, he's going to be stuck in the initial part. He's going to miss the command phase for turn 2. But what's cool is Forge World Core, again, these guys are core. They get the initial part, which is each time a model makes a melee attack, an unmodified hit roll of a 6 automatically wounds the target. So now, yes, we don't get to fish for the mortal wound. However, the thing we just applied says a 6 is an extra hit anyway. So
So you get one
I'll
mortal,
take it.
one extra hit.
Yeah,
Or
I'll
you
take
get
it.
one wound, one extra hit.
Yes.
Yes.
And then you're
Okay.
re-rolling all
Cool.
ones to wound to fish for those mortals. I think this is really strong.
Yeah, it's not bad. It's not bad.
Yeah. Again, so you get it for free. So that's our major HQ. That's our like real warlord. Now we talked about a couple different traits. You spend the CP up front to buy an extra warlord or relic.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to get into it, but you can do each of them twice per Mechanicus and Skitaris. You can take whatever you want. So we're almost done. That's pretty much the core of the list. I'm then taking. We need one more troop, so I'm taking a big block of Rangers. I'm taking 20 Rangers. I think they're really good. I think that if you have 20 Rangers sitting in cover, I don't think you're going to have to worry that much about battle shock tests. Yes, I know it
So
sucks. Their leadership 7, but like, look, if you're really trying to kill 20 Rangers, either you're going to do it without batting an eye, or you're going to waste a lot of shit to make me take battle shock tests. And if it's that big of a deal, I'll just ignore it once per game.
sounds
Not
like
a
I'm gonna
big
be
deal.
sending you my 30 Rangers.
So with them, actually, so Rangers got a little change. They moved 3 inches pregame or
Mm-hmm.
first before the first turn or whatever.
Sure.
Okay, whatever. But I'll
Not
take
great.
it, right?
It's something.
That's enough to get from your deployment zone into cover sometimes. So I'll
Well,
take
and
it.
also what it could do, it could bubble wrap you a little bit from a 9 inch
Yeah.
turn one. Well, I guess there really aren't any turn one deep strikes. So, well, I guess there's the jumps and stuff like that that can happen turn one. The shard from Thousand Suns. So
Yeah.
there's a couple things that can happen turn one that allow people to jump in at 9 inches and then try to charge. So these guys just moving forward the 3 inches really puts you out of that threat range.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, okay.
Okay, and then with them, so actually, so just to peek at their stats real quick, they're not super impressive. They're just their basic troops, right? So strength 3, T3, 1 wound, 2 on the alpha. But
Yeah,
they
but
they hit on 3s, and their gun is heavy 2 now. So it's a 2-shot. Yes, it's heavy. There's a strat to make it rapid fire too. Okay, that's kind of cool. So again, if things get close to us, strength 4 -1, 1 damage. If they're in rapid fire range, remember we get an extra AP. So we're now talking 4 shots apiece, strength 4 -2, 1 damage.
yeah, and we talked last week about there's a lot of strats available to even make these basic guys somewhat of a threat if you need to. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, you have some play there too. So if you find yourself in a scenario where you need these guys to really do something, you can dump some CP and make them do it.
Yeah,
Change
exactly.
your canticles, stuff like that. Like, yeah, I like it. I think I like the big block. I think Admech
Mm-hmm.
really benefits from some of these bigger blocked core units a lot. I think that's something that we're going to see more and more of with them as people start playing around with their lists. But based off the stratagems and everything that we're seeing, and I really think they lend themselves to larger blocks of core, which is different from what we've kind of been seeing from a lot of the stuff recently, where it's
Yeah.
smaller units are
Yeah,
more
for
beneficial.
sure.
Anyway,
Yeah. So
all
I
right. So
think
what
that's
else you
something
got?
unique. Yeah. So the guy that's going to accompany these guys is actually our final HQ. I'm not doing a big beat stick guy. I wish I was, but I think that's better for some other armies. So we are taking a tech priest manipulus, which is going to allow us to take that extra RKO tech that we talked about. So we have
Mm-hmm.
4 HQs, but one of them doesn't count. And the manipulus, this is the guy with the big machine belly. He's got all these tentacles coming out. He's kind of like
Yep.
either picking his nose or looking nefarious, whatever you decide that he's doing. But his stats, whatever. His ability gives something plus 6 inch range. So he'll sit with the Rangers, not a huge deal, and give them an extra 6 inches. Um, the Tech Priest Dominus is the other guy. He's a little more expensive, the kind of beat stick, more versatile, but he's Mechanicus, and these Rangers are Skitari. So We don't really benefit from his reroll ones, so I'm not too concerned about it. But the other nice thing about this Manipulus is that, yes, they get 6-inch range, but they also get another AP1. So again, if you're coming close to this Ranger unit and you're within rapid fire range, which is now 27 inches, or what did I say it was before? I'm sorry, it's a 30-inch rifle. So 15 inches plus 3 because we
Plus,
get 6. So within 18 inches, now I'm shooting you, I'm popping the strat for 80 shot because rapid fire 2. So that's 4 shots per guy. So that's 80 shots at strength 4 minus 3, 1 damage. I
yeah,
think that's pretty damn good.
it's gonna hurt.
So again, just a cheeky little surprise there, which is kind of the theme of the list.
Yeah,
Anyway,
even I'm wondering, does that work in Overwatch?
I don't think so. I think there was some
Okay,
sort of blanket statement that said like, "Hey, Overwatch, yes, it's like the
doesn't count.
shooting, but maybe not quite
Because
like
I was
it."
gonna say that actually might
But
make them
maybe.
worth 40 shots. Might even be worth Overwatching at that point, because that's a lot of shots that you could get some sixes on.
Yeah,
But if you can't, whatever. Moving on. That's fine.
yeah, I guess that's true. Yeah, I don't know actually. Um, Now, we could spring for the Artisan's Holy Order, which maybe you just do an extra 25 points on this guy. And then turn 2, what happens is he switches into the advanced part. And then you get the bonus of Artisans, which says each model makes a ranged attack at 1 of the strength. So now those guns are strength 5.
Oof.
But you can't start there, right? Because you can't pop at turn 1. So I'm not sure. So maybe, I think
Could
probably
be a
you
good
just buy
late
all
game though.
this. Yeah.
Yeah.
Could be good. So for that turn 2 combo, if they land near you. So let's just say we're going to upgrade him 25 points. Now, turn 2, he can give them strength 5, AP 3 1 guns off your Rangers. Okay, cool. So that's all the really cool, juicy stuff. We are sitting almost to our point limit. We're probably a little over halfway there. I'll keep the rest of it a little more brief. I'm going to take 2 of the Archaeocopter Fusiliers, which are the bombers. They're insanely good for their points, unless their points went up by 50% or more in chapter approved, which I'm pretty sure they probably didn't. These things are insane. They move better than Eldar flyers and their bombers, and they don't run out of bombs. And there was an update in the FAQ to the core rulebook that says if you're going to fly off the field, which you don't usually ever do, you can still complete your end of movement phase actions. So you can still bomb someone on your way off the field. These things are nuts. Go look them up. The stat line's really, really good for the points you get. I'm taking 2. That does mean, however, that I think we're going to lose some CP for a flyer detachment or whatever. I didn't really care out front because I think they're that cool. But if you're concerned about that, don't take the flyer detachment. That way you won't lose the CP. I think it costs CP now. I can't remember. Anyway, they're really, really good. I
I
think they're
think you
really
can at
cool.
least get one.
You might get one in like a battalion or something. I don't remember. Okay. Um, let's see. Uh, Yeah, so okay, I could go on and on about these flyers, but I think they're really cool. If you're concerned, double check on the detachment stuff. I don't know off the top of my head, but for me, it's really cool. I think you could probably even go up to 3 of these if you want to be that guy. Try not to go up 3 on units in this list, but I think this is the kind of list where you probably could just take 3 of all the things we talked about and be that guy. There's a lot of redundancy there for those things. People are engaging with 1 at a time. Okay, cool. So that's the fuselage, whatever, the Archaeocopter thingy. Now I want to fill out the rest of the list real quick. Like I said before, we might consider taking an extra squad of the Rust Stalkers, but if you don't, and again, you could even take another squad of the Las Cannonbella Starry, which probably a good move. But I'm keeping it a little more tame. I'm actually going to take 2 Onager Dune Crawlers. And yes, all this fits in 2,000 points. Like, this is a lot of shit we're talking about here. A lot
Yeah,
of
I was actually
vehicles.
gonna say I'd like to see some Dune crawlers here.
Yeah, so I'm taking 2 Dune Crawlers. I swear by these things, and I absolutely love the Icarus Array. I think it is an outstanding weapon. So these are not core, but they are Skitarii, and they do benefit from the Doctrina imperatives. So again, +1 ballistic skill, -1 weapon skill, those types of charts that change. So even though they hit on 3s and 2s against air units with this Icarus array, most air units are -1, so you could still hit on 2s if you really want to. These things will shred a jet bike unit. They'll kill a shield captain on a bike without even blinking. I found that out the hard way 5 times in a row. um, these things will absolutely destroy things that people will be using against you, like the Inceptors with plasma. Okay, they'll come down and blow up one, but the other one will kill them all. So the Icarus
Or
Ray is
Raiders.
really, really cool. Let me see really quick here. So it's like an array of miscellaneous weapons, but you get a missile launcher that's high damage. You get some auto cannon flak stuff. You get like a Gatling rocket launcher, a bunch of stuff. But the point is, it's all like strength 6, 7, 8 higher. It's really high strength stuff that's good against, and it's a decent amount of shots. Now, a lot of it is variable on the big weapons, but like the Gatling rocket launcher, just solid 5 shots, 48 inches, strength 6, -2, 1 damage against aircraft, extra 1 to hit. And remember, if you're within half range, so if you're within 24, it's a pretty aggro edition. A lot of stuff's getting close to you. We're going to be at AP3 and it's Skitarii, so we're going to be benefiting from some strats. I think these guys are solid. Their base is huge. I think you just take 2. They can literally block off an entire, their base is so big, I think you can just sit on an objective and no one can get near it. Anyway, they're really cool.
Yeah, they're hard
These
to
guys
deal
are great.
with because not only are they tough, but in an army of everything else that is just shooting the crap out of you, it's hard to devote the firepower to try to shoot that and not be able to kill it, you know?
Yeah.
So
Oh yeah.
it's a good addition. You know, one of the things whenever I build a list, I like to establish multiple threats because anytime you make your opponent have to make hard decisions, you increase the chance that they're going to make the wrong decisions.
Yes.
So I like these things. I think they're good. I like them with your ballistars or whatever they're called.
Mm-hmm.
And even your little troop guys are good. And then you're being sneaky with some other stuff that should be able to run up the field unabated because people are going to be more worried about all these last cannon crazy shots coming
Yeah.
at them.
Yeah.
So I like where everything's going with this. And then the flyers, boy, yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot
They're
coming in.
so annoying. And there's a lot of melee stuff this edition too. So these flyers, like, they're gonna just live. Like, I remember playing these guys in several games as custodies, and like, I did not want to spend all of my shooting on these damn helicopters. It's just they just sit there and bomb you every turn and take up
Yeah.
space. It's
Well,
wonderful.
again, this is one of those units that kind of flies under the radar because there's so many other things that you have to deal with that you're like, I guess I'll just deal with whatever these bombs are doing to me every turn because it's difficult
Yep.
to dedicate that kind of firepower to those flyers because they're not. I mean, they're not super impressive. They harass.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
so I know if I was playing, the Bella Stars are probably the first thing they need to go. Those
Yeah.
walkers, those the guys are priority number 1. After that, I don't know, dune crawlers. The combat guys are probably into me. Yeah, I
Yeah.
like it. I like it. You're making
Probably.
some difficult choices, and like you're scoring on raise the banners and still shooting, and you're
Take
fulfilling some of these
with the
secondaries.
flyers.
So
Yep.
yeah,
Now
I
we
like
are
it.
under point wise. So I mean, I included a unit of 10 of the flamer jump guys just because we did the
Of
jump,
course,
shoot, jump,
sure,
and that
of
puts us
course.
over about 60 points. So, do whatever. Either, you can shift things around and still include them, which I think is probably a good idea. Drop some rangers. You can go down to 1 dune crawler. I don't know. But if you
Oh
include
man,
them, you're a little over. If you leave them out, you're, 100 points or so light. So,
just for their ability to work a line breaker with like
yeah.
when you could be like you could alternate your flyers every turn to be like line breaker with flyer jump pack guys, and then the next
Yeah.
turn other flyer jump pack guys, and just keep cycling in and off the board.
Pretty nasty, dude.
Just keep. Well, maybe flyers can't get line breaker actually.
That's a
That
good
would make
question,
sense.
but I
That
think the
makes
play
sense.
is take 1 flyer if the whole detachment CP thing
Yeah,
ruffles your feathers. If you can take 1 in a
man.
battalion, you need to do it. But yeah, that's the list, man. I think it's pretty unique.
Yep.
I want to build this list, but I'm not going to right now. But I really think it plays unique. So
Yeah, it sounds interesting. I can't wait till you either get a chance to play it or convince one of your buddies to play it.
yeah,
Yeah,
this
it's
one I
cool.
might save for myself. So,
Hmm.
all
Well,
right. Well, that's
as
all
you
I
just
have for
shared it with
today.
everybody.
Yeah.
No, it's good. It's good.
Cool.
I like it. Yeah, man. I'd love to see what it can do.
Cool. Oh man, dude, there's strats for these helicopters too. We didn't even get into that stuff. And there's
Yeah.
strats for the. Oh man, there's strats for everything.
There's
There's
strats for
pages.
everything.
All right.
I think they've done a good job with. I feel like the first generation of strats is very much like generic. Like here's a strat to make a unit do X, and here's a strat to make a unit do Y. And in this iteration, I feel like they're like we have like maybe a handful of generic strats for like every unit, but then it's like this unit has this strat that works for this unit and makes
Yes.
them do this cool thing, and I like that.
Yeah.
I like that it's really contained to like a unit does X thing special, and I think that's cool.
Yeah. Absolutely. Oh, there's also a strat in here to make those las cannon dragoons -1 to hit, which is cool.
Of course there
So,
is.
and that's a stratagem that we'll be able to use for free because of one
With
of
your thing.
our
Yep.
holy order upgrades. So,
There you go.
anyway, the hits keep coming. Admech's nasty. Give this list a try if you have the models. Let us know what you think. If it works, if it falls on its face, if you need 3 units of Rust Stalkers, or if they should all be infiltrators, which they could be if you're HQ Deep Strike. So I don't know. This is theoretical, but I had a lot of fun doing it. So yeah,
Yep. So to end this, I just have one question.
cool.
How do you think they do against the New Sisters?
Oh, okay. That's it. Pull the plug. Pull the plug. We're done. We're done. All right, everybody. Tell us how you think it would do. All right.
Have
See
a
y'all.
good
Have a
one.
great night.